Coming up on market shares, travel has been snarled at one of the world's largest airports, Heathrow International in London. What happened that caused this disruption, and when flights will be taking off once again.
And following Minnesota Governor Tim Walz's comments, Attorney General Pam Bondi declares Cybertruck attacks domestic terrorism. How Tesla shareholders are responding.
And an exclusive interview with iGEM SU President Samantha Fernandez, how the new Biotechnology Club is providing students with startup experience. Hold on to your wallets because Market Shares starts right now. Well, March Madness is underway, and so is Market Shares as the buzzer sounds on another hectic week on Wall Street. Welcome into the show. I'm Peter Elliot.
And I'm Riley Underwood. Let's take a look at how the major indexes are wrapping up the week. And they're all down except for one, Peter, and that's the NASDAQ. That one's down. The other ones are up actually for the 5-day.
Yeah, it has been another challenging week on Wall Street. We almost had a fifth straight losing week for all of the major indexes. The NASDAQ continues to struggle, down about 0.4% on the week. The S&P 500 just up barely, and the Dow Jones, I guess the winner of the week, almost up 1%. But it has been a challenging first few weeks in this beginning of the Trump administration. Between all that tariff turmoil from the administration and fears of this kind of looming recession, we're seeing a real challenge for a lot of these blue chip stocks. Nike, FedEx, Target, all really challenging weeks. Nike and Target in particular, two of their worst weeks since the pandemic, Riley.
And for the Dow Jones, NVIDIA actually wrapped up its GTC conference today. That's been a reason for that dip. Went way down this month. Actually, a pretty good week for the Dow Jones, but we could see maybe that tick up a little bit after that conference. We
will see. Certainly, NVIDIA is certainly one of those stocks that that all of Wall Street looks to for the future, as we see still fears of this potential looming recession. A lot of alarm bells being rang across the industries. Well, let's move on to our first market mover of the week. It is Allstate, that company in good hands this week because it is in the green here, up about 0.22%. Riley, this is a company that has really led the insurance market.
So sure have. They did really well yesterday. It set it up to drop just a little bit, but not too much. They've actually announced a $1.5 billion share repurchasing program. That's something that could increase some value. And really, this year has been great for them, plus over 27% from a year ago today.
Yeah, an all-time high for Wall Street, up to $212 a share. That's up $50 year over year. It has consistently traded above expectations over the last few months. It has seen a kind of a slight decline in the number of auto insurance policies that is issued, but analysts say they expect that to return to a level. But it's been a challenging year for Allstate and all of the insurance companies, especially after the beginning of the year. We saw those devastating wildfires in California. Allstate reported a $1.1 billion loss. The entire insurance industry really got wiped out by those fires. So Allstate and the state of California, these other insurance companies really trying to recover. But Allstate, among other companies, they've been pulling back from areas like California and Florida, places that have been challenged by climate change and natural disasters. Let's move on to our next mover of the week. It is a company that has really had a rough one, Riley. It is the consulting company Accenture.
And big part of that, Elon Musk and Doge, that's some big partners to kind of blame for that dip. 8% of the revenue that Accenture brings in is from government contracts, government consulting, and a lot of that consulting is going to go away. They're planning on cutting a lot of that, so a lot of their revenue goes down as well.
Yeah, Accenture, one of the first major companies to get doged by the Department of Governmental Efficiency. Worth noting that Accenture, while it has a big footprint here in the United States, it is based in Dublin, Ireland, but it really is a global company. It has had a challenging year, down 15% year over year, but this is just another real challenging moment for the company as, like you said, Riley, 8%. It makes up a big part of its business here in the U.S., those federal contracts. And it won't just impact Accenture. You're going to see more companies, especially these consulting companies, be impacted by these cuts as the Department of Governmental Efficiency says it is cutting away at some of these contracts that are not considered mission critical. So we will see for the future what this means for other companies. But not only are they cutting back on these current contracts, but cutting back on future contracts as well.
Yeah, we're going to see it in future. This just so happens to be the first one. Big in the Department of Defense, big in the VA. A lot of different sectors in the government that they kind of do consulting for. it's not probably going to happen anymore.
Yeah, it will not. We will see what the future is moving forward, but Accenture, a down week. Let's finish with a company that has had a strong one and a strong year so far. It is Darden Restaurants. You might not know that company, but you know its portfolio. You know Olive Garden, green like the logo there, and Longhorn Steakhouse and Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. It is up big this week, trading now at almost $200 a share. And Riley, what's pretty funny about this stock is that actually the company didn't report strong earnings this week, but Wall Street is really, they like the future for this company, Darden Restaurants.
Yeah, it went way up this week.
Yeah.
One reason I think that might be the Uber partnership they have going on. They just wrapped up that setup. It's going to deliver food with Olive Garden, something they hope will boost some sales. That Uber delivery bill, that goes up a little bit too. Everything boosting the money.
Yeah, they make a lot more money from these Uber direct deliveries than they do from just curbside pickup. So that's been a good part of that company's business. They've had good luck with that. They've also recently acquired Chuy's Restaurants. That's kind of a chain of Tex-Mex restaurants across the Southwest, about 100 locations there it has acquired. The question here, though, Riley, is how will this company look moving forward, especially with fears of recession? Typically, we start to see consumers pull back from how much they dine out. The company's CEO says he's not worried about that so far, as Darden doing well so far, as we see so many of these other stocks start to pull back up near an all-time high of $200 so far for Darden Restaurants. Well, let's take a turn now to Tesla, a company that is helmed by Elon Musk. We've already talked about the Department of Governmental Efficiency, and protesters are speaking out against him through acts of vandalism to Tesla trucks and dealerships across the country. They've been referred to as domestic terrorism. That's according to Attorney General Pam Bondi. Here with more about those protests against Tesla and Elon Musk is Market Shares analyst Isabella Galan. Isabella?
Yeah, that's right, Peter. It's been a tough week for Tesla. But before we get into the protests, let's focus on what's going on within the company. Not only were 46,000 Cybertrucks recalled yesterday due to an exterior panel that could detach while driving, but Tesla's stock has fallen significantly in recent weeks. This comes as members of the board have been selling off millions of dollars in stock, according to the filings with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. Since early February, 4 top officers at the company have offloaded over $100 million in shares. Well, last week, Fox News founder James Murdoch, who has been a board member since 2017, sold shares adding up to almost $13 million, according to an SEC filing. The sale took place on the stock's largest single day in decline in 5 years. Board chair Robin Denholm has also sold off over $75 million in shares, split between 2 transactions spanning 5 weeks. Now, if we take a closer look at those numbers, Tesla shares as a whole have lost a third of their value over the past month due to investor concerns from Musk's involvement with the Trump administration and Department of Government Efficiency. Federal District Judge Theodore Chang from Maryland issued a preliminary ruling on Tuesday saying that Musk appears to have breached the U.S. Constitution. Now, this comes after 26 USAID employees and contractors filed a complaint. As a result, Chang approved a temporary order that prevents Doge and Musk from USAID staff cuts, canceling contracts, building closures, and destroying materials. Now, these problems have led to protests all around the country, raising concerns about Musk's ability to not only juggle the EV giant, but also juggling Doge and his relationship with President Trump as well.
Well, Isabella, we've seen these kind of fires all over the U.S.
Yes.
We saw one just last night. Officials are calling that a suspicious fire in Fargo, North Dakota. They just charged a South Carolina man with arson charges. Prosecutors allege he set fire to a Tesla charging station. How have these protests kind of evolved over the last few weeks?
Yeah, like you mentioned, we've been seeing a lot more violence across the country. A lot of the protests that originally started regarding Elon Musk and his involvement with the government, they started a little bit more peaceful, and now we're starting to see a lot more violence. Teslas were set on fire in multiple countries or in multiple states, across the country, including Vegas, Kansas City, Seattle, and a dealership got shot up in Portland not that long ago. So we're seeing a lot more targeted attacks that the U.S. Justice Department is starting to now get involved. We mentioned a little bit earlier before that Attorney General Pam Bondi released a statement. In her statement that she released on Tuesday night, she said, quote, the swarm of violent attacks on Tesla property is nothing short of domestic terrorism. The Department of Justice has already charged several perpetrators with that in mind. We will continue investigations that impose severe consequences on those involved in these attacks. And now 3 people are facing federal charges as of yesterday. Technically, though, even though she is saying this is domestic terrorism, those actual charges technically aren't able to be evaluated as such yet. She needs to elevate those charges in order to officially be considered domestic terrorism.
Yeah.
So how about in Syracuse? How are people responding here in central New York?
Right, so just last week there actually was a protest in Manlius. It was near the Tesla Service Center over there, and there was more than 350 protesters that showed up, but it was an extremely peaceful protest. Originally they were going after Musk and Tesla itself, but it ended up evolving to be more than that, and talking about more issues that people in Syracuse are really upset about, specifically the elimination of DEI initiatives. So it's showing that yes, Tesla and Elon Musk is causing some issues for people here in Syracuse, but it's more of the Trump administration as well that's playing a role into that as well. But a car was actually just vandalized on Sunday. There was a family that went to the Landmark Theater to go see Mamma Mia, and they came out and saw "This car supports Nazis" written on the hood of their car. It went viral on Twitter. They had a video of the whole thing. So we are starting to see a little bit of violent acts, not as much as fires and things like that we've been seeing across the country, but definitely some other acts here in Syracuse as well.
Thank you, Isabella. Interesting stuff. Coming up, iGEM CEO Samantha Fernandez explains how students with startup ideas can capitalize here at SU. Stick with us.
Hey, Hard, what's this?
That's my resignation letter.
You're resigning. Why?
Because you're constantly ignoring me. You're half as active as you used to be, and you get stuff like this.
You've been putting me under a lot of pressure lately.
That's why I'm ready to quit.
I forgot. I'll do better.
Please, don't quit on me. Okay, but remember, it's not what you say, it's what you do.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you.
Let's go for a walk.
Uncontrolled high blood pressure could lead to a stroke, heart attack, or death. Get yours to a healthy range before it's too late.
Welcome back to Market Shares. Right now we're sitting down with Samantha Fernandez, the CEO of Syracuse iGEM, a biotechnology club providing students with startup experience. Samantha, welcome in. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We really appreciate you taking the time.
Yes, just to start off, tell us a little bit, what is iGEM? Tell us what the organization is about.
Right, so iGEM actually is an acronym that stands for the International Genetically Engineered Machine. It is a competition team, also structured as kind of like a startup here at Syracuse. Its main goal is to compete at an annual jamboree in Paris. It is one of the largest, if not the largest, biotech competition where you can attend and just be exposed to the latest medical advancements on a worldwide scale.
So off camera, we were talking about how kind of prestigious and important this organization is, how it has an international footprint. Why else should students join iGEM?
Well, I think it's perfect for Syracuse, as Syracuse is also such a prestigious institution, and we want to really build a legacy here at our university. And we want to try to do that by first having cross-disciplinary collaboration. So as I mentioned, we do have it set up as a startup. So although we have a scientific aspect to the team, we also have a place for design majors, marketing majors, public health, international relations, and just getting help from these various disciplinary majors would really help complete the foundation of our team.
So how is iGEM impacting more the broader community at SU, and how is it going to impact students that want to start startups and want to get into business and that type of stuff?
Yeah, so you're going to get a lot of career development from joining this club. About 5% of the teams that attend this competition in Paris end up being successful startups in the future, just with the way that it's formatted. We also kind of differentiate ourselves from other student organizations right now and other research opportunities as we're student-led. So you're not going to be working underneath a professor or a private investigator. We're coming up with the experiment ourselves. We're coming up with the protocols. And then we have various development departments and sub-teams that really help us make this a company with a marketable product, obviously.
Of course, that is important. Now, Samantha, thank you so much for joining us, and best of luck on your journey to Paris.
Yes, thank you. I hope to take more students with me.
And coming up on Market Shares, a fire at London's Heathrow Airport leaves travelers stranded when Heathrow plans to reopen to travelers when we come back.
You quit smoking and thought, that's that. But here's the thing about lung cancer. By the time you see the symptoms, it could be too late. But now, there's a new scan that can detect lung cancer early, when it's more curable. If you smoked, get scanned. Talk to your doctor or learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Looking for these? You drive buzzed. It could be one very expensive ride.
First, you gotta make bail. Then pay me to get your car back.
Your insurance premiums will go through the roof.
And my legal fees just keep adding up. All told, it could end up costing you $10,000.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
With over 2,000 Syracuse students studying abroad this year, many have had some weekend travel plans thrown into disarray after Britain's largest airport shut down this morning. Over 1,300 flights have been disrupted after a fire this morning at an electrical substation in Hayes, West London, caused a power outage. Passengers that were midair have been diverted to other airports or turned back around to their original destination. Heathrow had originally claimed that the disruption could go on for days, warning passengers not to travel to the airport under any circumstances. As of around 4 p.m. today, the airport has partially reopened, but still faces travel disruptions.
In the coming months, students may be able to find Poppy in Syracuse University dining halls following PepsiCo's recent acquisition of the brand. That's good news for a lot of fans here at CitrusTV. The SU-partnered soda giant reached a deal with the prebiotic soda brand for a net purchase price of nearly $2 billion. Co-founder of Poppy, Allison Ellsworth, says, quote, "We can't wait to begin this new chapter with PepsiCo to bring our soda to more people, and I know they will honor what makes Poppy so special while supporting our next phase of growth and innovation."
Yeah, Poppy, I've never tried that. While Syracuse University raised tuition by nearly 4% this academic year, maybe for some more Pepsi, other institutions are working to lower student costs. Harvard University has announced this week it will be offering free tuition to students from families earning under $200,000 a year. The move enables 86% of U.S. families to qualify for Harvard's financial aid.
It is the elephant in the room, what impacted a lot of the downturn we've seen as of late. President Trump's current and potential tariffs on American allies loom over the U.S.'s economic and energy futures. With Canada being the biggest exporter of oil to the U.S., it puts into question how consumers will be affected. Here with more is Brennan Andrews.
Pushing forward with its energy dominance initiative, the Trump administration's tariffs on Canadian energy pose threats to American consumers and the entire utilities market. Trump put 25% tariffs on all Canadian and Mexican imports and 10% on energy. He then put a temporary pause on import tariffs on goods protected under the U.S.-Mexico-Canada Trade Agreement, or USMCA, which included Canadian oil and energy. This pause will be lifted and all items resume at their promised rate after April 22nd, causing uncertainty from Canadian officials as it approaches. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith spoke at the CERAWeek Energy Conference last week, detailing the ultimatum she sees arising from Trump's tariffs. If trade tensions don't ease, Smith foresees Canada finding other buyers for its energy resources. On your screen, you can see the breakdown of Canada's oil exports, with 90% going to the United States and Alberta fulfilling a vast majority of those barrels. A halt or change to this trade relationship could be detrimental to both countries, including rebuilding oil and gas pipelines. For some families in New York, Canada is their main sourcing option for energy. New York State Electric and Gas serves over 5,000 customers in Plattsburgh, New York, entirely with natural gas coming from across the border, leaving them vulnerable to any retaliatory measures taken by Canada. A report that made at the request of Governor Kathy Hochul concluded New York residents will be insulated from higher costs but, quote, the fluidity and uncertainty surrounding President Trump's trade policy makes it difficult to accurately forecast the precise impacts of the tariffs.
So with the pause on these tariffs ending in April, do you think we'll see President Trump stick to his original plan or maybe make some adjustments to avoid some further tensions with Canada and Mexico?
I foresee the president sticking to his previous statements and letting this 25% tariff reapply to all goods. The Trump administration is working to become a mass exporter of energy itself, summarized by Trump's frequent use of the slogan, "Drill, baby, drill." Trump turns to his attention to domestic energy production, meeting Wednesday with a group of oil and gas executives on the topic of loosening regulations and increasing American drilling. U.S. Interior Secretary Doug Burgum, who attended that meeting with Trump, also spoke at the CERAWeek conference, promising the crowd that Trump could unwind up to 30% of drilling regulations as an alternative to filling that American demand.
All right, Brennan, you mentioned the uncertainty surrounding tariffs in the U.S. Do you think that uncertainty could affect long-term investments for the country?
So Fed Chair Jerome Powell responded to this tariff-induced inflation and the current state of economy as transitory, a word that scared some investors. While Powell is saying that negative effects experienced from these tariffs aren't permanent on the economy, this was the same assessment he gave while facing drastic inflation in 2022, a response that still earns him criticism. That being said, there could be merit to investors' concerns as the Fed lowered their 2025 growth forecast for the country by 0.5 point and predicted that inflation and employment would rise during the year. In acknowledgement of concerns, Powell stated, quote, we do understand the sentiment has fallen off pretty sharply, but economic activity has not, and so we are watching carefully. While the Fed doesn't believe the markets will live or die by tariffs, their effects are an additional factor to increase the volatility of the market and long-term investments for consumers.
All right, Brennan, thanks so much for following that story for us. That'll be big moving forward. Well, speaking about the future farmers, the U.S. Department of Agriculture is expediting $10 billion of economic assistance to farmers. The department is issuing the funds through the Emergency Commodity Assistance Program. Farmers hope that these payments will offset the impact of rising input costs and falling prices. The USDA is attempting to get these payments out quickly to ensure that farmers have enough for the next crop season. These payments are based on the planted crop acreage for the 2024 season.
BMW is preparing to take $1.1 billion earnings hit due to new tariffs on China and growing tensions between the U.S. and the European Union. The company is expected to make a profit before taxes, but will likely fall short of the 8% margin in their automotive division. On an earnings call this week, the company shared they will be taking measures to avoid tariffs as much as possible, and they are open to the idea of moving some manufacturing to the U.S. The German company still expects a solid market development in the U.S. and Europe.
At Southwest Airlines, bags no longer fly free. That's a big change. The historically low-cost airline will be ending its decades-long policy, allowing customers 2 free checked bags per flight. The company says checked bags will still come free for customers who hold its credit card, bought a business class ticket, or hold the highest status on Southwest's rewards program. But the move comes as a result of serious investor pressure to boost profit and revenue. The airline estimated that instituting bag fees would bring in about $1.5 billion in revenue, but there's a cost. Analysts believe the airline could suffer almost $1.8 billion in lost business from customers who only choose to fly Southwest because of that free bag policy. The company's stock rose 9% on Tuesday, but we'll have to wait for the long-term implications.
And Ben & Jerry's parent company, Unilever, has fired its CEO due to his social media activism. The ice cream company says this firing violates a 25-year-old merger agreement which gave Ben & Jerry's independent board primary responsibility for social mission priorities and the essential integrity of the brand. In an amended complaint filed in New York on Tuesday, Ben & Jerry's accused Unilever of censoring their posts, which Unilever has since filed a motion to dismiss. Unilever put out a statement saying, over time, the social mission of Ben & Jerry's shifted, but in recent years it has come to a head as Ben & Jerry's seeks to advocate for one-sided, highly controversial, and polarizing topics that put Unilever, Ben & Jerry's, and their employees at risk.
From moose tracks to train tracks, more C-suite shuffling. Amtrak CEO Stephen Gardner has announced that on Wednesday he will be stepping down from his position after 16 years. The major announcement comes amidst calls from the Trump administration to improve the rail system as Amtrak scrambles to comply. Just a few weeks ago, Elon Musk said that the for-profit, government-owned company should be privatized. Amtrak says the rail service the Trump administration wants to see will require years of federal funding to actually see. Amtrak President Roger Harris will likely be taking over the duty until the position can be filled.
And coming up, March basketball season causes madness for the U.S. economy and lost productivity. But if you have this team on your bracket, you may be wishing for a round one victory. Stick with us and we'll tell you who.
Put the keys down, Kevin.
But I'm gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
I guess I have really been looking for love in this dating app. Yep, I'm definitely gonna call a ride home.
Jordan knows he shouldn't eat this entire bowl of nachos, but tonight he's earned that right. Because a few hours ago, in the middle of happy hour, he recognized a sign. Not from the gods or a bolt of lightning, but from a double heart, a kissy face, and a fourth ha in ha ha ha. That's when Jordan knew he was buzzed. So when it was time to go, he got a ride home instead of driving. Be a legend like Jordan. Recognize your buzzed warning signs and get a ride home. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
Wrapping up things here on market shares, this is our one shining moment here, Riley. Well, some are picking 13 seed Grand Canyon to upset Maryland in their bracket. Others are taking to the stock market.
Yeah. Grand Canyon Education is a publicly traded education company. It currently provides services to universities, including Grand Canyon, who takes it to the court in just a couple minutes. So, Peter, I don't know, should I put a bet on Maryland? Should I go with the Terps? Or should I start buying shares for Grand Canyon?
It's a good question. It could be a safer bet, actually, to go to the stock market. Grand Canyon trades under LOPE, short for antelope, their nickname. It trades at $170 a share. That has risen steadily over the last few months, over the last few years. That actually might be a safer long-term bet than sports betting, if you can believe it, Riley. But I don't know about your parlay game. Maybe you're a good gambler.
I don't know. I don't know about that. Grand Canyon stock, it actually took a dip earlier this month because the Department of Education, the cuts that may be happening with that. So that's big in that. But yeah, one thing I know not to bet on, ACC teams in this tournament. I mean, see McNeese State upset Clemson. Louisville goes down to Creighton. And one team that's checking my scores here on my iPad. I don't know if that's what I'm going to be using it for, but Duke's doubling up Mount St. Mary's. I mean,
that is just about the only hope that this conference has, Duke doing something in this tournament. But what's funny is that over the course of March Madness, it's a lot of fun for students, people in corporate offices alike, but you see a lot of lost productivity. There's always those stories every year about the millions of dollars lost in productivity because people aren't actually working on their spreadsheets. They're actually checking their brackets, which, by the way, are probably now busted right now. Riley, how's your bracket doing?
It's always the first day. You think you have it, then It's cooked.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just what it is.
Speaking of ACC decimation, I had Louisville going a long way immediately. Of course, they lose that first game to Creighton. What are we doing here? I feel like I can never figure it out.
I don't know. I hate to put you on the spot here, and I hate to bring up bad memories, but you had St. John's going out first round.
I did. I like to do a big upset every year, and St. John's is a great story, but I love Omaha as well. And of course, they were competitive through the first couple minutes, and then that became a blowout. So this is why you should never come to me for any March Madness advice. Maybe stock advice, I guess. Maybe we should put some money into Lope or Grand Canyon, but don't come to me for any advice next March. That'll do it for us here on this episode of Market Shares, this March Madness episode of Market Shares. Thanks so much for following along on this program. My name is Peter Elliott. Thanks for watching.
I'm Riley Underwood. Thanks for joining us. Have a nice weekend.